algorithms are constantly changing. So, the strategy is a little different this year than it was last year. My main offering is a year-long coaching program. And so we're constantly, of course, dropping, inspirational messaging and having launch events around that. So we've used a lot of Facebook in the past. We're moving into some, more LinkedIn and a couple other platforms this year. But I think you have to have good advice on what's working now and what works for your audience. So the answer would be different for just about every listener that's hearing this. We specialize because you have to in this market. Our past company was about career coaching. This one, specifically about helping entrepreneurs with their with growing their businesses. But there are coaching programs in just about anything out there. So, and from anywhere from go for a weekend to a full year, it just really depends on what the person's looking for. So depends on our focus has to kind of go out and back in again, depending on what context we're looking at. But well, I grew up on a farm, so we always had dinner together, and whether it was 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock, be there or be square, as they say.
Yeah.
But and it was always, it wasn't chaotic at all. It was fairly peaceful. And, my dad was a farmer with a day job, and my mom worked part-time, so she could be there when we got home from school. So
very cool. Very cool. What did you guys, your dad was working part-time on the farm. What did he farm?
Mostly wheat.
Okay.
Yeah. He died when I was 14.
Oh, okay.
Of brain cancer. So that was kind of tragic right after we moved. And so I think that helped create the entrepreneur that's here today.
Yeah, that's interesting. My father actually passed away when I was 16. He drowned. So,
wow.
So same. Certainly wouldn't expect that, but
right.
One of those things that you pick up and move on in life. How did that impact you? Would you say like you felt like that sort of spawned the entrepreneur? What do you mean by that?
I was a firstborn and a Taurus already.
Okay.
So
hard driving right out of the gate.
Yeah. But I mean, they just put their life savings into a business in another town. And so I became the wife and the housekeeper and the cook. And my mom was trying to keep her head above water running an auto parts store when she came from an urban background. So it worked. It all worked out. But, I read some studies since then that most women entrepreneurs had an absent father in some way, divorce, addiction, travel on business, or death. So I guess that was part of the formula. But yeah, definitely helped me to become more self-sufficient.
Yeah, independent, and
also probably helped me mask my emotions more. So I had to do some work to get past that early in my 20s. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll touch on that a little bit later. I'm curious, some of the things that you learned from that. But what happened? So you're a teenager. Did you do college and all of that after high school?
Yeah. Or got a law degree. I was 10 years in and out of college trying to find myself.
Yeah.
And it didn't really happen until I became a coach, I don't think, but the psychology degree was definitely a step in the right direction. And the lawyer part was more of a doing what came logically. But, I sold everything and hit the road after 2 years of that with my first book. And because I just wanted to have a more positive impact in the world.
Yeah. And so did you said that you were in college and you stopped college after the 2 years? I mean, you said that there's like a 10-year stint, or what was the 2 years that you stopped and then hit the road?
Well, we're glossing over a lot of life here, but I went to business school, worked for a year, went to college for 3 years, got my bachelor's in psychology, worked in a large law firm, decided I could become a lawyer because the associates were asking me as the secretary how to file the pleadings. And I already had, the problem solving skills. So then I went to law school, and then after a couple of years with one firm, I then went on to start my own practice and began doing more consulting, more speaking, and then decided to help people figure out what their purpose was and how to use that in their work. So this book, When 9 to 5 Isn't Enough, was my first international book. And from there, I've just continued writing and just finished number 28 a couple of days ago.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, just to be able to have that many books in you and being able to, produce, that much content. Yeah, absolutely incredible. So have you always had everyone has, I guess, certain strong abilities, capabilities. Yours obviously must be writing. Yes, mine could be speaking, I guess. But have you always been a prolific writer, or did that take some practice to be able to, really hone that in?
Well, the actual gift is synthesizing, I think, Mark, because it's taking seemingly different things and combining them in whether I'm speaking or whether I'm writing. I've done a lot of speaking as well. And of course, I ran a coach training school until 2020 when I sold it and started another online company. But yeah, I've always enjoyed writing. I was very good in spelling and English right off the bat. So used to write stories when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So it just kind of naturally evolved. And I think that, especially during that time when my dad had died, I was at the library every day. I was the person walking home from school with a book in my hand,
Yeah.
And so books were where I found my answers. And so now I want to turn around and provide those answers to others with what I'm writing now.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. So what was life like for you before you wrote your first book? And then, obviously you saw a snowball effect because you kept writing them, but how did life change for you from, writing that first book onto, the second, third, fourth? I mean, is it, what happened, during that time?
Well, there's nothing linear about it, really. I was awakened in the middle of the night with the idea for the book before this one, the one I talked about, which was a little more closely related to law, but then it quickly branched out from there to entrepreneurship. So knew exactly where to pitch it, what to do, how to, whatever. So it started a process of teaching professional development classes at our community college here in Portland for once a quarter for a while until new ideas started to emerge. And so I have a kind of a unique approach. I know one of the things that a lot of times you like to ask is what's a process that works well? And instead of staring at a blank screen, I will usually teach the content first and kind of figure it out and finalize it that way in an interaction with others, and then write the book. So the book writing is easy. I mean, I think I did this last one in about a month. So
interesting.
It really does simplify the process. And so we have a program that teaches that as one of our offerings.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you have a beginning framework that you would sort of plug these ideas or theories into, and then you would go and teach it, and then you would refine it as you go? Is that, I mean, obviously you're probably refining it.
An intuitive hit of some kind or a need that I identify. Yeah.
What is that process, that initialization process look like for you? Is it, sort of like a summary of ideas that are just bullet pointed out, or how do you go through that initiation of, starting to teach an idea, which, ultimately, gets distilled down into the book? But, how does that process initially start?
Hard to explain it. It's just my brain just works that way. It used to be slides. I don't do slides as much now because we prefer to be live on camera, but it is a framework. It's usually 8 steps or so, and then just kind of filling that in and with examples and subpoints, and and then seeing how that lands with everybody that I'm sharing it with.
Yeah. And are your teachings, are they virtual, or is it in class, in person type setting? So you're getting, that type of, I guess, personal upfront feedback right away, or again, are you teaching these types of concepts, through Zoom calls or what have you?
Well, I don't think anybody's doing it in person now, really, to speak of. So it's been virtual since 2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've done a lot of live speaking too. Yeah. That was when I started my first online company.
Wow. That's impressive.
Kind of a veteran. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to that.
So what was it like starting that first online company? Because that was, I mean, you had to have been one of the first people that created an online company back then. Yeah. Well,
it was certainly nothing like it is now. Didn't have social media, but I had a great mentor who taught me business coaching, and then kind of guided me in that first website, which was very primitive, but I didn't even have a way to take the gal's payment. That was my first student, but it was a matter of 45 days from concept to launch, and just kind of building the plane as I fly it, as I've the saying goes. So I mean, it was certainly exciting, and I wanted to create something that would allow my husband and I to travel, because he was retiring around that time. And so we were able to 3 separate years travel and run the business,
Yeah.
a couple of years by RV and 1 year by yacht up the East Coast. So
Very cool. Very
yeah.
cool. So I'm kind of getting a sense of a pattern here, that it seems like you prescribe to the theory of, get something out there and then refine it as you go, and then you perfect that into whatever the final outcome is.
I think you have to, especially now,
Yeah.
things just move too fast. I don't know if you found that to be true, but
Absolutely.
you sit and spend 6 months creating a program, and by the time you launch it, it's out of date, or it's
Yeah.
not going to, if people don't respond to it, then you've wasted all that time. I like people to be paying me to develop my content. So
Yeah,
that's why we do
absolutely.
it that
No,
way.
that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. So how long typically will you take spending creating something? How do you, I guess the question would be, is how do you know when you have enough content to be able to, launch something that you can start getting refined and tweaked and factored into whatever the final outcome is going to be?
I think it's just intuition, really,
Mhm.
and if it's crystallized enough that I can put it on a piece of paper, or on a screen,
Mhm.
then get it out there. People need it now. They don't need it, next month or next year.
Yeah.
So, and then by the time it's actually ready to start, that gives you some time to fill it in. So
Yeah.
it can
That
be a
makes
little
sense.
scary for some people, I'm sure. But and it's not like I have a curriculum design background, although I seem to have a talent for it, because I've had curriculum designers look at some of the things I've done and they've said, yeah, I don't have any comments on that. It looks great,
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah, it's just it has to be practical.
Mhm.
It just has to
Mhm.
be practical. Philosophy was my least favorite class because I couldn't see anything, practical about it in college. But yeah, as long as I can help people achieve a result that they're looking to achieve, that's what
Mhm.
motivates me.
Mhm. And it all revolves around, business development, business growth, for entrepreneurs. Is that the main focus that you typically will?
Yeah, for the most part. My Simon and Schuster book was called Thriving in Transition. I don't think you can find it anymore, but there's a workbook that I've written that's out about that. So that was more about the transition process. I did a bunch of interviews, and we gave some examples of some celebrities and Olympians and things, in terms of that model of transition. But yeah, and one is called The Tao of Entrepreneurship, which is more the mindset of the entrepreneur. It's a meditation book that's 52 weeks of meditations. So all around the, just being successful as a business owner. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So what are some of you mentioned that you had a publisher, the Simon and Schuster book. Have you self-published any books, before? Or have you always
Three. Yeah. All but 3 were self-published in my
Okay.
company, High Flight Press. Yeah.
Okay. And if you had to compare the 2 different paths, which obviously, I mean, you've done more of the self-published ones. Is that a better path with today's market, with the tools that are available today? Or would you say that it's, still advisable to try to get a publisher?
That's a great question. It depends on your goal with the book. If you're really looking to land national media and do that sort of thing, and you've got a bit of a track record, maybe you got a couple other things out there,
Mhm.
then hiring an agent and going that way may work. What I'm doing this time is co-publishing, actually.
Okay.
So I'm investing in a firm that does this all the time and that doesn't use the knowledge that I had 3 years ago when my last book came out, but it's their life. And so,
Yeah.
Hire the expertise rather than me trying to manage all those details, or my team trying to do it. And so just gives me the peace of mind about that. And I can still bring my own, messaging and marketing to it. So that allows the publishing process to be streamlined too. So that's, either self-publishing or co-publishing with someone that really knows their stuff is what I would recommend.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the tools that are available today, like you touched on when you first started, there wasn't social media and all of that. In you're promoting online courses, you're promoting your book, you have a bunch of things that you're promoting. But do you focus in on any specific social media channel, or is there channels that work better for you than others? Or is it, you're trying to, be seen in all of them, as much as possible?
Well, algorithms are constantly changing. So, the strategy is a little different this year than it was last year. My main offering is a year-long coaching program. And so we're constantly, of course, dropping, inspirational messaging and having launch events around that. So we've used a lot of Facebook in the past. We're moving into some, more LinkedIn and a couple other platforms this year. But, I think you have to have good advice on what's working now and what works for your audience. So the answer would be different for just about every listener that's hearing this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And the types of people that you're trying to attract, obviously entrepreneurs, are they in any type of industry or vertical or anything that they focus in?
Yes. Mostly coaches and other experts, authors and speakers also can use the high ticket group coaching method that we've developed as a back end strategy. So, when you go out and speak, whether you get a fee or you don't get a fee, you still want to be able to offer something as an ongoing income stream. And so that's the main audience. And then we'll occasionally have people from organizations come in. I know when I had my coach training company, I coached in, college, career centers and trade groups and so on. So, kind of varies, but for the most part, coaches are my love because they always have that desire to help others, and so we want to help them not only help with the right strategy, but also make sure that they're using the invisible parts of the client attraction process with manifesting and those kinds of things. Okay. So that's always in there with the work that I do.
Yeah. So you get into a lot of the thought process behind everything as well, and making sure that you're, it's not all just tactile. It's self-improvement, self-development as well. Would you say?
It goes even deeper than that, actually. It's
okay.
More, we're all attracting all the time. We're all creating all the time. Are you creating what you want or not? And if not, then what are some of the principles you can use to tap into that? So it goes beyond the intellectual to more the spiritual, the etheric level.
Yeah. Interesting. What are some of the things that that your students have realized after going through, especially the self-help side of things, right? I mean, you can teach, processes and techniques and all of that, but, some people have a hard time getting involved or getting into that headspace where they can, realize that their thoughts can impact, whatever they're trying to achieve. So, I guess, have you seen, huge turnarounds from someone who might have been very, very negative, maybe perhaps, and then, all of a sudden they realize that they had this ability and they've turned their life around because they started thinking more positively? Or I guess just kind of expand on that a little bit. What are those transitions? What do those transitions typically look like?
Well, it varies based on where the person's starting. We don't really enroll people that are negative to begin with, but they do often have like self-esteem or visibility, especially with women. Visibility is a big thing. Mm-hmm. And that is my exclusive market is women. So, helping them to get past the fear of the camera and the fear of what people will think, and just, connecting with this is the work that you're here to do in the world. It's your spiritual path, and there are people that need you now. So you don't put it bluntly, get out of your own way, Yeah. But we had a gal, a lot of times the transition starts happening just in the enrollment process. We had a gal come in that had a lot of health issues. She had lost a ton of weight, and she wanted to help other women do the same. This was in the midst of the pandemic, last year before. Mm-hmm. And so, but she didn't know online media. She'd had an online business or a direct marketing business back in the 2000s, but it's totally different now. Yeah, sure. So we helped her to see, well, you just do a really simple offer. Here's how it could look, and just, put together the money at least to get into the program, which she did, and proceeded to, get triple her investment in a matter of a couple of months, just from what she learned very quickly, because she was very coachable and she really wanted to do it. And so that's one example. Sometimes it shows up as financial results right away. Sometimes it shows up as lifestyle changes. We've had a few people that have moved to different locations because that's what they really have wanted to do, and now they have the freedom to do it because they have an online business. So those are a few examples. Yeah.
So you're primarily helping people also start, online businesses, would you say, as well? Kind of have that freedom to be able to go wherever wherever they want to go. But is it more, I guess, web-based rather than physical type storefronts or,
Yeah, it's service businesses. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The approach that we use doesn't work as well with retail, simply because it's about scaling online. So
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Primarily, just going from the one-on-one model that therapists and coaches learn to a high ticket model, or if you're already in a group coaching or have a group coaching program, elevating that into a high ticket structure. So you can serve, 100, 500, 1,000 clients in a lot less time than it would take you to serve even a fraction of those in a one-on-one basis.
Yeah. That makes sense. I'm curious for your perspective on the types of businesses, and this might be, a very, very basic question, but I'm just curious, like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of different types of skills out there, right? And they may not necessarily realize that they have a skill yet. They don't have an online business. They don't have, they've never advertised whatever their knowledge is or skill is online. Are there any types of, I guess, techniques to be able to identify, hey, maybe there is something here. Maybe I can, sell this, this skill that I have online, rather than doing it, one-off to, individual people. Does that make sense?
It does. And, we don't really do like skills assessments per se. Those are certainly available online. Most of the people, by the time they're 5 or 10 years into their career, have a pretty good sense of what they're good at and what they love and what they want to have different about their career. And then those are the kinds of people that enroll in the certifications that we offer so that they can become qualified and confident in their skill set with that. So we do have a certification in our method as well that we'll be launching later this year. That's what I did for 20 years with the other company, was certify people in career coaching. So a lot of times when they're looking for a transition, like the Great Resignation right now, we've got 12 or 15 million people out there looking for something they can do that won't be so have all the downside that their current jobs have had. And learning a skill set, whether that be whatever it might be. There's a lot of different kinds of work from home opportunities that are legitimate, and that you can simply work into the schedule of your day. If you got young children, my mom had a series of 4 strokes in another state over 2 years, and I was able to be there with her because I needed to be. I'm the oldest child, and all the way through until she passed away. So that is a real blessing. And so I would just say, if you're usually, people like our company will give sample calls, informational calls about the program, what it's about, who it's for. And so look for those. If you have good people skills, if you enjoy helping people transform, then coaching might be something to look at.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the coaching can be, I think we already covered this, but just want to reiterate, the coaching could be in any type of industry, right? I mean, it's not just, or is it more personal development type coaching? It could be, again, whatever your skill set is, whatever your knowledge base is. It could be teaching people how to use Photoshop or something like that. Or again, is it more focused on a specific, a specific type of skill?
Well, if we're just talking in general, any kind of coaching could help. I mean, when we started our first coaching school, there were 44 other companies. Now there's over 600, including some colleges that offer programs and everything from life coaching to executive coaching and everything in between. We specialize because you have to in this market. Our past company was about career coaching. This one, specifically about helping entrepreneurs with growing their businesses. But there are coaching programs in just about anything out there. So, and from anywhere from go for a weekend to a full year, it just really depends on what the person's looking for. So depends on our focus has to kind of go out and back in again, depending on what context we're looking at. But
that makes sense. If people want to learn more about you, your services, or even your latest books, what would be the best way to reach out and get in touch, or search for those new offerings?
Thanks for asking that. Website is transformationalthoughtleaders.com. And you can also just message me or follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook, soon on TikTok, not there in a big way yet, but and we have periodic free workshops that will be informational and be able to get an idea of whether this is a fit for you or not.
Yeah, I love it. Marcia, this has been fantastic. I love that you're helping people realize their true worth, their true passion, in life, and what they ultimately are going to be happy doing, and giving them that flexibility to be able to live the life that they ultimately feel like they should have deep down in their heart. So thank
Yeah,
you for
yeah.
that.
It only takes one bad job to want something different, and I had a few. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I'm sure everybody's been down that path before. So
exactly.
but no, it's great that you're doing something about it and helping others realize their happiness as well. So many thanks.
Well, thank you.